Hi there, my name is Dean. I also go by the trail name Bug Juice. Recently finished up a Muir Trail through hike here in September, and a lot of people asked me about the gear I was using and what worked and what didn't, so I thought I'd do the ubiquitous YouTube gear video. Anyway, let me give you a little preview of what we got going on and give you some insight. Let's start with what I was actually wearing while I was hiking. On my head, it's always good to have a hat, especially when it's as sunny out as it is in the Sierras typically. I like just a lightweight, fast drying hat, for the occasional rain when it comes, or even just, when you get hot and sweaty, it's nice to be able to dry the thing out quickly. Definitely want to use sunglasses. I like these orange lens ones. I've used these a long time, but they're just nice because they take the glare off the sun without necessarily making everything really dark. But obviously that's a personal preference, but I'd recommend it to give it a try if you haven't used them before. As far as the shirt goes, I've started using some of these lightweight wool shirts. This is an Icebreaker brand. I know a lot of people use Smart Wool, but you can go to Target and buy some sort of polyester for $10. It's going to dry quickly and do just fine as well. For shorts, these are just North Face trail runners. One thing I do like about these is they have a little zip pocket here, and if not that I had keys with me, but if you had to throw keys in there, make sure you don't lose them. And they have some side pockets as well to throw a granola bar or something in while you're walking. For socks, also been using just lightweight wool socks. I use real thin ones. I don't use ones with cushioning. Obviously, personal preference there, but these are made by Darn Tough, a brand out of Vermont. As far as the difference between these and Smart Wool or whatever other brand, these have a lifetime guarantee, which I kind of like because I definitely wear through socks eventually. So luckily I haven't worn through these yet, but in the event I do, it's nice to know you can call them up and send them back. Next up, these are gaiters, which I just started using these several years ago and they're great. These are made by Dirty Girl. You can go online and find those. They're made out of Lycra. And the purpose of them is really just to keep the dirt and the grit out of your shoes. And frankly, you can look at your socks and see how much cleaner they are at the end of the day, and they're working. And you're definitely not fishing rocks out of your shoes, little pebbles and stuff. So I definitely recommend those. They start to break down over time. You can see a couple little holes, but nothing too bad. Use a little sew kit and stitch those up. As far as shoes and boots, I like lightweight trail hikers. Everyone has their own personal preference, whether it's heavier leather hiking boots, which I might use on more technical rocky terrain. But Muir Trail is perfect for these. Tons of people use trail runners. I like the ankle support, so I kind of go with something a little bit higher. These happen to be waterproof. And the other advantage, since they are lightweight and they're made of kind of a fairly quick drying material, that if you do submerge them, they'll dry out pretty quickly. But for small stream crossings and stuff, it's nice to not have to worry about your feet getting wet. And I wasn't out there in the middle of the summer; it was super hot, so I can't really speak to how breathable they are. But they are made of event, so I think they're supposed to be relatively breathable. Since I was hiking in September, I brought the zip-off pants along. For cold mornings and cold evenings, I'd be hiking in these. One thing I look for when I buy these types of pants, I like to find zippers that go up high enough so I can actually get them over my boots. There's some of them don't come with zippers at all, which seems kind of odd. It makes it really tough to get your pants on and off over your boots without taking your boots off. The other thing I like about these are the cargo pockets. That's just, once again, my personal preference. I like being able to throw a map in there or a little guidebook or my cell phone. And these actually also happen to have this, just a lightweight belt. And I didn't really lose much weight on this trip, but I think what happens is your legs get heavier and stronger and your waist gets a little skinnier, so it's nice to have the belt to cinch it all down. As far as outerwear, I brought rain pants on this trip. These are Gore-Tex Pack Light. It's the material, super lightweight. These pants weigh probably 6 ounces. The other thing I like about them is the zippers on them go pretty much all the way up to you can see almost all the way up to the waist. So it makes it nice for venting when you're wearing them and you start to get a little warm going uphill. You can really vent them pretty well. Probably could have gotten away without them, but you know, if you get some really bad weather, you're going to be really happy you had these, and that's a pretty small price to pay, 6 ounces to make sure you're warm and dry and not getting hypothermia. The jacket, this is actually the same material. It's a Pack-Lite material. So the jacket probably weighs 10 ounces. 2 features I like on this jacket. I like the nice big hood. I didn't take one of the umbrellas with me that a lot of people hike with nowadays. So the hood was nice. And then the other thing I like is the chest pocket there. It's perfect to pop your cell phone into to make sure it stays dry, and you can get it out if you want to take a photo. As far as staying warm, this was a great purchase. This is a Western Mountaineering down jacket, and I really like the hood on it. It was a really big hood and kept you real warm, and I think this jacket weighs, I think it's like 8 or 9 ounces. It's pretty impressive for how warm it is. So I'd use that a lot. In the evening, this is a Smart Wool long sleeve shirt. I'd use that as well. I'd often sleep in that. And this shirt here, believe it or not, this I got at Costco for like $5. It's just a polyester shirt. Dries in about 2 minutes after it gets wet. And it's real soft, and it's perfect for sleeping in at night. So I'd wear that and wear the long sleeve shirt. I'd also wear just a nice thick pair of socks to keep my feet warm at night. And that's just another pair of darn tough socks I'd use. It's nice to have good clean socks when you're hiking, so that's just a backup pair. These are my camp shoes, and if you have water crossings you got to do. A lot of people use Crocs. These are similar type of material, but you can see there's just tons of holes in them, so the water drains out real fast and makes them lighter. These probably weigh half as much as Crocs do, but they're not going to keep your feet too warm. You can see from all those holes. As far as sleeping systems go, this is a Western Mountaineering sleeping bag. It's a mummy type bag. I know a lot of people use quilts and stuff. I haven't really had an opportunity to try that out, but this is a 30 degree, I think it's called a Summer Light, and it's so lightweight. It weighs probably 20 ounces, so like a pound, 4 ounces, and it's super compressible. This is a compression sack. I can fit the sleeping bag in there, I can fit the down puffy in there, and it's like the size of a grapefruit once I squeeze it all down. Since it was September, it was going to be getting, definitely chilly at night. 30 degrees might be a little bit on the cusp, even inside the tent. So one thing I've started to use over the years is I'll throw a pair of these, hand warmers people use for skiing. I'll take a pair of those with me. I can throw one of those inside my sleeping bag. It lasts, let's say, 8 hours. And it's like a furnace inside the sleeping bag. It's great. Definitely. It probably buys you at least 10 degrees as far as warmth rating on your sleeping bag. So if you haven't tried that, definitely, don't do it when you're going on a 3-week hike, but try it on a weekend hike and see what helps you out. As far as other warm weather gear, I take just a little wool hat. It's perfect. This is, a lot of people use these. It's just like a buff neck warmer type thing. I'll use it when I'm sleeping at night or first thing in the morning. These are gloves I use for cycling. They're waterproof and keep you warm, but pretty much anything will work, especially if you really don't have to worry about your hands getting too wet and cold. Maybe cold, but you're usually not going to be too wet out there, at least on the Sierras. And then these here, much like those arm warmers I showed you, or did I show you those? Anyway, these are leg warmers, but they basically go from your ankles up to just above your knee, and I really like hiking in them. If you start to get warm, you just slide them down around your ankles. If you get cold, you pull them back up, and I'll use them to sleep at night sometimes if it's really cold. So yeah, I couldn't remember, did I show you the arm warmers here? Let me show you those real quick. I use the same thing while I'm hiking in the morning if it's real cold out. These are, they're both Smart Wool brand, but same thing, when you get going in the morning, you're cold, and as soon as you start doing that first climb up the hill, you start to get warm, you slide them down around your wrists, and maybe you get above tree line and it's a little breezy, you slide them back up, or on a day when the clouds are moving in and out in front of the sun, they work real well. I like it way better than just a standard long sleeve shirt. You don't have to stop and take your pack off, take your shirt off. And so anyway, definitely something I'd recommend giving a try if you haven't used them before. As far as the rest of sleeping gear. I've been using this Big Agnes Fly Creek 2 tent for several years, and it is really good. It's probably the lightest tent out there for, full rain fly, pretty much freestanding. I mean, you have to stake it out a little bit, and, bug screen the whole bit. It has a real floor, and it weighs like 2 pounds, 4 ounces. There's also a one-person version, but it weighs like 3 ounces less. So I figure for a couple extra ounces, it's nice to have the room, and in the event you have someone else going with you, now you have 2 pounds, 4 ounces you can split between two of you. So that's pretty nice. As far as a sleeping pad, this is a very popular sleeping pad. This is a Thermarest. I think it's called an Exolite. But anyway, I use the 3/4 length. This one weighs, I think, 6-7 ounces. And, the only thing you have to worry about, of course, is not getting a hole in the thing. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble. So I'm pretty careful about where I set the tent up and where I set my sleeping area up. So I'm not usually too concerned about getting holes. One little luxury item, I've had this for years. This is a super lightweight Thermarest chair lounger converter. And you just slide the Thermarest in there, and I wasn't really hanging out in camp too much, but even for an hour at the end of the day, it was nice to be able to sit in a chair and relax and be comfortable instead of hanging out in the dirt. So that's that. Let me show you the pack I used. There's tons of super lightweight packs out there. This one is an REI brand. It's called a REI Flash 45, and it weighs like 2 pounds, 2 ounces. And it has, full-on hip belt. Has lots of bells and whistles. You can see like the little pockets on the side. It has a big mesh pocket on the back. Has a top pocket. Has a sleeve if you want to put your bladder in, your hydration bladder inside. And even full retail, this thing's like $130. So I think they're on sale right now for like $65. So I don't know. I thought it was a great pack, and definitely worked really well for the gear I was carrying and the weight I had. My base weight on this trip was about 13.5 pounds, but then I had to throw my bear canister on top of that, which is about 2.5 pounds. So all in, I was 16 pounds, not counting food and water. With my 7-day resupply at Muir Trail Ranch, I think I was tipping the scale at just over 30 pounds, 31 pounds with food and water. And that was probably stressing the pack just a bit, or less the pack, more me, because it just doesn't carry the load that weight. But after a day or two, you eat some of your food and you're good to go. So it was worth, some of the compromise on carrying weight at that time. As far as hydration and stuff goes, I've been using this Nalgene 1-liter water bottle. I don't really need to carry 3 liters of water with me at a time. And you can buy this little conversion kit to be able to put the tube in. I like the wide mouth on top. It makes it easier to get water out of a stream. And I'll show you what I use for treating the water, but it's a stereo pen, but it just makes it easier to treat the water in that wide mouth. And then, for a second water bottle, it was just a Platypus 1 liter, folds up real small. And, it was only on occasion I actually had 2 liters with me. Sometimes if I was dry camping, or if there was going to be my guidebook called out a stretch of some distance where there wasn't much water, I'd load up the 2nd liter. The bear canister, I'm sure everyone's seen these bear canisters before, but this one was super popular. It's called the BV 500. And one of the things people like about it, me especially, was it's clear, so you can actually see what's inside your bear canister when you're trying to fish something out of the bottom. That duct tape, fancy colored duct tape on there, is really just, since so many people have this thing, it's nice to be able to identify yours quickly. All of a sudden someone grabs the wrong one, or you grab the wrong one when you're camping with a couple other folks. Let me show you now some of the, I'll just show you, I use these trekking poles. They're by Comperdale. They worked out really well. I mean, they're a little fancier than you need. They fold up if you want to stick them in your pack, but I was pretty much just hiking with them all the time. I'd use 2 of them. But when I climbed Half Dome, I didn't necessarily want them in my hands, so I stuck them in my pack, so it's nice that they fold up. But the one feature I did like, especially on these, is they are adjustable. And, if you find the right length, that's fine, but it seems like I'm always in between sizes, or if someone wants to borrow one, you can hit the little cam and adjust it, probably a good 6 inches or so. So I'd say anyone like between 6 feet and probably 5'5" could use the same pole. So now for the little doodads. This is everything that everyone thinks weighs nothing, but starts to add up once you put it all together. But just standard Petzl headlamp. One feature I like on this one, it has the red light setting, which is good when you're going to the bathroom in the middle of the night and you don't want to kill your vision, your night vision. One other little kind of luxury item I brought was a pillow, inflatable pillow, weighs like 2.5 ounces. And a good philosophy for this lightweight backpacking. The lightweight is really a means to an end, and the end being able to hike further, faster, longer, and feel better at the end of the day. And one way I can do that is by sleeping better. And if I have a pillow, I tend to sleep better. And a lot of times I'll stuff clothes in a stuff sack and use that as a pillow. But if you're kind of cutting back on your gear, you don't really have much clothing left to stuff in a stuff sack. This is my toiletry kit, basically a little thing of deodorant, toothpaste, toothbrush. This here is just some meds, some ibuprofen and antihistamine, and maybe some Motrin. Real important for me is nail clippers. Keep your feet in good condition. And then also these are earplugs. And even though you're not probably camping in shelters like you do on the Appalachian Trail with people snoring, you can have the wind flapping at night and your tent snapping all over the place or whatever it might be. It's nice to have those once in a while. And the little yellow cord is nice too, so when they fall out of your ears in the middle of the night, you can still find your missing earplug. This is just a standard Swiss Army knife, and one item I like on the Swiss Army knife I carry is just a Phillips head screwdriver. It's good to be able to actually tighten up the cam lock on your trekking poles. It's just a little small lighter. This is the Steri pen I use for filtering water, or treating water I should say. It's just a UV light. Works really well. It takes 90 seconds to treat 1 liter of water. It uses batteries, so it's good to have an extra set of batteries. But as a backup, I take just the little tablets just in case. And then in my resupplies, I had extra batteries as well. But on this trip, I started with batteries that weren't brand new, and I replaced them once in the trip, and I was fine. I actually don't carry a stove, so that definitely lightens things up a bit. Not carrying fuel, not carrying a stove, and you just got to figure out what works for you. But I figured I can get away without a stove. But it's nice to have a little plastic knife to spread peanut butter. Here's like my little electronics section. Carry an iPhone. Obviously, got to carry cords, and this here is you start filling up all your iPhone with all your photos because you're taking so many photos out there. This is just a little USB with a lightning adapter that you can move photos from your phone onto the basically it's like a jump drive. You can also move video as well. To keep things powered up, I'm not a big fan of solar chargers, even in sunny environments, unless they're like pointing directly at the sun. It just takes forever to charge. Better use of weight is I found to carry these battery packs. This one here weighs about 6 ounces, 5 ounces, and will charge your phone 3 times. Plus you have a charge on your phone when you start, so when I'm in airplane mode, I can get like 3 days out of my phone. So I don't know, all in I can probably go for 10 days without having to recharge. This here is just when you do get to resupply, you can stick this in the wall to charge everything up. I buy an aftermarket one where you can stick 2 devices in at the same time. I can charge both my phone and the battery pack at the same time. Plus these things are like, your standard iPhone chargers are like 1 amp. These are like 2 amps each, so they'll charge the phone and the battery pack quite a bit faster. I don't carry much in the way of a first aid kit, but basically I carry some like triple biotic ointment and some Band-Aids, and so like a blister kit, and actually that's on top of that is a needle and thread to do some repairs of gear. I also carry this tenacious tape, a little bit of it to repair if you get a rip in your tent or in your jacket. And then that's a repair kit for the thermarest, because like I said, if you get a hole in that thing, you're just out of luck, unless you have a repair kit. So that's really about it. A couple other things I was going to show you real quick is some gear I didn't take, but I considered taking. These are a little heavier duty boots I use if the terrain's a little more technical, rocky. Just leather boots. They're not super heavy, but definitely a little heavier and don't dry out quite as quick if you completely submerge them. But they keep your feet really dry, just in wet environments. But yeah, if you go do a stream crossing, you're definitely gonna have to dry those things out if you get above the top of the boot. This is another real popular water treatment system, is the Aquamira. I'm just a fan of the SteriPen, but if there's two of you going together, I'd recommend one person take a SteriPen and one person take the Aquamira, and now you've got a backup system. If I'm doing a shorter weekend trip, I take the smaller battery pack. That thing probably weighs like 1.5 ounces, and this is the standard iPhone charger. It's definitely a bit smaller, but it doesn't charge quite as quickly. It's debating whether or not on this trip I needed to take a pack cover. I mean, this thing's super small, weighs about 2.5 ounces. But frankly, everything inside my pack is in waterproof stuff sack. So this is really about keeping your pack dry. And, really, when a pack gets wet, it gets heavy. So that's kind of the reason we're carrying it. But I left it behind. This is a real small, lightweight Petzl headlamp. Weighs about 1 ounce. Wasn't sure if I was going to have to do any hiking at night or setting up camp at night. I didn't have to do that, so I wanted a little heavier duty headlamp, but this would have worked fine. In bear country, normally I'm carrying something to hang food with. There's a carabiner wrapped up inside there, but since we had to carry the bear canisters, I didn't really need to take this. In case you hadn't seen it, this is one of these trekking umbrellas, basically the Chrome Dome by Golite, super popular. Didn't take it with me, definitely didn't need it, but if you're in a super sunny, hot environment, like in a desert, I know people love these. If you're in a wet environment where storms are rolling in, like in the Rockies, people love this because you don't have to bust out all your rain gear. You can just pop the umbrella out. People have figured out all sorts of ways to rig this up onto your pack, so it's just kind of, you don't have to hold on to the thing. Then lastly, I don't take this stuff with me, but it sure is handy in figuring out what makes sense to take and what doesn't. On the left is just a scale I bought at Walmart for like $12. It's great for weighing, all that small stuff, and all of a sudden you see all that small stuff weighs 2 pounds. The scale on the right is kind of like something you'd use for weighing after you had your big fish that you caught, but it's great for weighing the whole pack with a hook on it, and I got that online for like $10. So I'd recommend those things just to kind of keep yourself in check. And then you can see this is actually the purple thermarest down here is what I've typically used in the past. It's full length. It's actually a women's version because I don't need to have a thermarest underneath my head. And the shorter versions, for the women is just fine for me. And from what I've read, it actually has a little higher R value for keeping you warm. But I'm kind of on the fence between this one and the yellow one. That's even lighter weight, but is 3/4 length. Anyway, I hope that helped you out and give you some ideas of stuff to try out. At the end of the day, it's all a personal preference. You just got to figure out what works right for you. And like I said before, different times of year and different terrain and different locations, you're going to use different gear. So it's good to just try things out, and you can figure out what's going to work best on any given trip. And there's no perfect way to do it, but over time, you just get a better feel. I'm also going to try to do a similar type of video like this for bike touring. A lot of people ask me about that as well. I use a lot of the same gear. It's not quite as weight sensitive, and just a couple other things to keep in mind. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them here online.